Hi. That sounded not enthusiastic enough. My name's Lars. I'm an alcoholic. And man, that was spectacular. It's such a treat. And thank Fellowship of the Spirit team. You guys are so good. All of you that do these. I'm going to put a plug in the last series they did, Expanding God Consciousness. Tremendous. So there's a recording of it. People that missed it, I say listen to it. It was so, and just nonstop. This service you guys do, I just want to say thank you, Ali, Mickey, Kuna. I'm going to forget names. So, and thank you guys. You bring these speakers, this treasure map. This is number 5, Ali, I think. It's just been spectacular. You guys, it's that, you know what is it? I'm not going to say, is the silver lining of this damn the pandemic thing, the Zoom. It's a silver lining that I hear you is the wisdom here. So the question, and then let me just after those thank yous, question I was getting to, and Steve more sort of dug into this, but I think you're all is that not getting the, well, actually it's been stated to me specifically, one of the people's names that people have been said about 10 times here already said, don't let learning get in the way of seeking. So meaning, so the intellectual, because I like history, I like learning, I have an intellectual curiosity, I love AA the way you guys have expressed it. I love, and I'm very interested in history generally. I like the history of AA. So, and knowing it, and like, and Steve talked about, knowing certain pages and so on. And wow, I know that I'm even joking this meeting that I go to called the local historian, which I don't really, I feel funny about, but how do I do enjoy that, but then not let that get in the way of the spiritual development. So don't let learning get in the way of seeking, which is if you have suggestions on that, because I do find myself falling in that trap. Thank you.
Thank you, Lars. Anybody that's moved, please just go ahead.
Well, Lars, you started to ask earlier if I still was prone to that, and the answer is absolutely yes. Not as often as I used to be, and sometimes not as long. But I was doing a morning inventory exercise and sending it to a few people. And over time that grew. And what I was doing was reading something, writing down my experience of what I read, and then sharing that with some people. And as the audience grew, I began to write to the people. You know what I mean? I began to write with a mindset of what are they going to think as they read it, rather than sharing a personal experience, having a personal experience and then sharing it. The other thing that still happens is I can sit in a meeting and a topic comes up and my brain will go, oh man, I got some good stuff about that. I got 5 minutes on that that'll kill, And it doesn't mean the information, frankly, is still not valuable, but I can begin to feel when it is more ego intellectually focused than heart driven. So thanks.
I'll share for just a real quick bit. I got drunk memorizing the big book and quoting it. And then, but about 20 years ago, a fella and I were doing history workshops, and we both collected everything. I've got everything. And all the books, and at 17 years sober, he got drunk doing history workshops. He was the go-to guy for all the information. He shared Steve's sponsor, and it broke my heart. And I've not done a history workshop since. It's my hobby. It has nothing to do with my recovery. And when I want to tell you what I know, it's because I'm afraid or insecure. Very rarely does it have anything to do with really wanting to help you, because no alcoholic can hear anything except for, here's what I did. No alcoholic hears what I know. I don't hear it. I don't hear, but And I always wanted to know more, and I always wanted to idolize people that knew more and then be like them so that I could, because I still saw AA as a hierarchy, sponsorship and everything, but it's not. It's a shoulder to shoulder thing. That's just a love fest. And that's where I want to live and die. And also when it's important to me to be right, which man can I get there? When it's important to me to be right, I cannot be of service. I cannot simultaneously be concerned with being right and being of service because I can't hear you. And I'm more concerned with my voice and what I know than being helpful. This is just me. I'm not saying that's true for you, but at the end of the day, I really do want to be of service and do what God wants me to do. That's really what I want to do. That's my heart. And I'm get scared. And when I get scared, I have to know. When I get scared, it becomes intellectual. So when I get scared, I got to focus on God instead of what I know. That's all.
Thank you for your question, Lars, and thank you, Steve and Cindy. Doug, come on up, please, brother.
Yes, thank you, everybody. That was wonderful there. You know, it's rocketed into the fourth dimension and with the treasure map under my arm. I really do enjoy these things. I love the analogies and I love the, you know, comparisons to real world stuff. When I first came in the program, I failed, you know, because it was mostly fellowship, and it was I'm from a small town now. I was in Toronto, but now I'm up in Newmarket, and all the meetings around here are pretty much middle of the road. Just starting to make inroads now with the big book and some more actual hardcore 12-step work, you know, and I'm fortunate to do that. But my question is, like, how do you guys deal with, you know, like I want to reach the newcomers in the meetings, and I talk about the circle triangle and the three legacies and such like that. And people, it's not in the book anymore, you know, it's not in the big book anyway. Maybe it's in the 12 and 12, but older people just say, you know, they just say make coffee. Well, they don't even say make coffee anymore, but you know, it's really, how do I reach out and get past the old boys that just want to say, you know, don't drink, don't die, and you'll be an old timer.
Yeah, hi, Chris, alcoholic. You know, I can share on this. I went through, some other people have talked about this as well. I went through a very evangelical period where, you know, I discovered the book, I went through the steps, and I'm looking around, and that just doesn't seem to be everybody's experience. And I became quite the pain in the ass about it all, you know. And what I realized, I think if you don't go through that evangelical period, you know, maybe you haven't done your job, you know, but hopefully you mature out of that, and you learn to carry a message of depth and weight with a type of humility, you know, sharing your own personal experience. And you learn how not to cut the room in half, because we really are supposed to be at a place where we can be of maximum benefit. And if you've you know, if you've pushed up on somebody else's ego, they're listening to you has stopped, you know, and you're not going to be of much use anymore to half the room. So it's a matter of just kind of maturing through it. I think organically, as steps 10 and 11 are really practiced as a way of life, you just kind of level out, and it's a lot easier.
Thank you, Chris. Anyone else want to jump on that one?
Adam, alcoholic. When I first got sober, my sponsor said, Adam, you got a big mouth and a good memory. He said, don't let it go to your head. You're just the entertainment. But I know, you know, we say keep coming back, it works if you work it. We don't see keep coming back, it works if you know it. But going through the book and going through the first couple of chapters and turning those statements into questions, I did become armed with certain facts about myself. And those ideas of not being able to stay stopped on my own, not being able to stop once I started, understanding a little bit about what the problem was, what the solution was, I was able to be more effective at being helpful. That it is through being helpful for me that has been the greatest gift. I mean, puke smells the same in a Mercedes. It's very easy to get distracted by money, property, and prestige. And that can also be self-importance. I do have a good memory, but you know, like a lot of us, it is only through, for me, it's like searching for God in the hearts of men. I'm going to meetings looking for new people. I'm trying to find someone that is open-minded and willing. And I think that that is the only thing that's been sustainable in my life. Everything else, for some reason, I get bored with very quickly, but watching some new guy and seeing, you know, becoming the godfather of his son or the best man at his wedding or his mom's hero. And again, that could be ego too, but watching people recover, watching one of God's kids that comes to AA the day before they die and suddenly develop a life and a will and joy. I don't think there's anything better than that. I don't know why, but it still gets me excited all these years later. Watching somebody recover from this it's been the greatest gift in the world. I've had all the other outside stuff. All of it is just stuff. But that thing that Alcoholics Anonymous has given me, the ability to be helpful where no one else can, I hope I never lose that. But, you know, if you know how to talk about this thing and get people excited about it and be enthusiastic about it, why not do it? Get people excited about it. I think that's my only purpose in talking in a meeting, although, you know, it seems prestigious. It's like, I'm just trying to find one guy that's excited about this and take him to Denny's and go through the doctor's opinion with him. And hopefully he'll stay with us. That's the greatest gift here. All the other stuff, it's information without application is just information, but practicing it becomes where it becomes really good. I do have to have the information, but without application, like Steve had said, there's no transformation. And we all know these are just words, but still they're ideas, they're concepts, and they can change somebody if we can be helpful. God and AA will change people. I'm just a conduit of that. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, I found that going to Cocaine Anonymous, there was a younger demographic and I was easier to cut through with them. They seem to be more the real addict alcoholics rather than the middle of the road and hard drinkers that I find in AA. But thank you all. I really appreciate the input.
Thank you, Doug, for your question. And thank you, Adam and Chris. Appreciate you guys. And next person, I don't know your name. I'm assuming Nuners Dorval is your meeting name and your location. What's your name, please? Come on up.
Unmute.
Hi guys, Bruce Alcoholic. Sorry about that. Yeah, thank you guys for your shares and stuff. I wanted to ask you guys, how do you deal with resistance? I mean, I think it was Bill Wilson that said, with the more you get popular in AA and the better you get in AA, you will receive more resistance. And I find I'm 5 years sober now in Montreal, and you know, my name gets said a lot at meetings. I don't ask people to say my names. I do a lot of service. I've like what Adam said about being what Bill Wilson said about being, I wrote it down, a heart of a servant. You know, I think I've devoted my life to AA. I put in a lot of hours of AA every single day. I just find that people are twisting, and friends, close friends of mine are all twisting now. The better that I seem to get in my sobriety, people don't seem to like it. And I'm really feeling a lot of resistance, and I'm wondering how you guys do it. I thought I had a solid sobriety where I don't give a shit, but you know, I'm just wondering how you guys deal with some of the shitheads.
Steve Alcoholic. Thanks, Bruce. Well, first, having been one of the shitheads, it gives me experience about how I've been on both sides of the equation, you know, and you talk about resistance and you know, we talk about cease fighting anything or anyone. Now, just like you, I haven't quit caring what people think about me. But and when we say in AA, or when we hear it said that what other people think of me is none of my business, I believe that's true. But it doesn't mean I don't care. It just means that I don't want that to determine what I do and how I live, that I want to take action based on principle. So, if I think when we're committed to something, there are a certain amount of people that are going to be put off by it, and a certain amount that are going to be attracted by it. And I just don't get to be in charge of who's who. So I just want to take care of my little piece of business, do the next right thing, and see where it lands. And be open-minded to the fact, by the way, that some of those folks who think I'm an asshole are probably right every now and then. And so I want to do a little self-examination in that process. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. All right, Anna, come on up, please.
My name's Anna. I'm an alcoholic. I think it was Adam that said near the end of his talk, the love God and love thy neighbor as thyself. Now I understand the second one, love thy neighbor, but love God sounds a little sort of this humanistic view of God, and to kind of, I just wondered if you could talk a little bit to that. What do you mean?
I'm guessing this is directed at me, correct?
Yes, it is.
Those are the three fundamental relationships in life. If I know it sounds a little religious, and I know that's what you're looking for me to say, but I do believe that I love the world. If you want to go with that, I love nature. I love people. I love all of it. I'm in love with my life. I love thy neighbor. I understand how to love people. If you pet a lion that has its thorn in its side, of course it's going to bite you. Is it my job to pull the thorn out or to point it out? Every human being has a hidden thorn. So I've learned to love people in spite of their differences, their difficulties, their resentments. I've learned to accept myself the way that I am and to try to better myself. And for some people, God is principle. For some people, it's an entity. For some people, it's the group. Okay. And it's very difficult to get into this controversy. Agnosticism is believing in God and then living like there isn't one. I think that everybody's going to be challenged in We Agnostics. It's a very difficult chapter, but there's some fundamental ideas in there that of what I spend my time looking at and respecting. And do I respect the world? Do I respect all that is? So I'm not going to get too deep into that. It's not a religious concept, but even the Lord's Prayer, thy will be done, third step, lead us not into temptation, 6 and 7, forgive us our trespasses, 8 and 9, really sounds a little religious to me, but spiritual laws are spiritual laws. And I believe that just like there's inertia, velocity, centrifugal force, gravity, why wouldn't there be spiritual laws? And Alcoholics Anonymous, these principles are leading to spiritual laws. And one of those laws is to have love in my heart and to project that love out to people, to self, and to God, which is all it is. Put a label on it if that bothers you. I try not to profess my personal beliefs about God in AA. Thanks.
Yeah, I didn't have.
Oh, sorry, Anna. I thought you were done. I'm sorry. Thank you, Adam. Thank you very much. Christina, go ahead, please.
Hi, family. Christina, alcoholic. I am. God moved me to ask this question, and I guess to all of you. As you noticed, I got so fired up, and then I heard Cindy share after me, in the middle of my being fired up with this stuff, right? Rocketed, fired up, adrenaline gal. I've got this message that I want to get through to all of the room. And I have difficulty grabbing what I'm grabbing now. That took like a good, 20 minutes? How do you guys carry that powerful pause? Cindy, maybe it's for you. of the love fest in the message when you're so fired up? Or is this something that will happen over maybe not time? Is it a spiritual growth path, or are there tools that you all use when you speak to sound the way that you do? Even though I know you're on fire for this. That's my question. For any of you, I would love to know things.
I love that. Yes, and you can buy it at Walmart for $19.99. No, here's the thing, that enthusiasm that you have, oh my gosh, love every second of it, love every second of it. And, I spoke when I sounded like you. And there were people that needed to hear me, but what I am is authentic, which is part of why every time I talk, it's a little different. So for me, I got okay a long time ago if I speak somewhere and I never, ever, ever get invited to speak again, right? Because that used to be my fear, right? I mean, I'm just being transparent as my ego. I'm okay with it. I have a really big life, and it's like I am okay with it. And it's like, and I'm also like, for me, it's like somebody was talking earlier about the 5 years sober. And when I turned 5 years sober, I was so excited. I was going to get my token. I wanted everybody to see. And I thought, my gosh, my sponsor's going to say, Cindy's finally made it. And my sponsor gave me my token and absolutely embarrassed me and said, congratulations, Cindy, now the real work begins. And that was true for me. There's all of these, it's an onion. We are all told that when we get here, it's the unlayering of an onion. And if you'll be who you are, and I often say the David thing too, it's taking away whatever's not David. But if you'll be completely you, who God has in mind for you, not who you think we do, not who you think they do, you'll get to have a great relationship with God and be reasonably happy. That's my experience, and it's like, if you're supposed to speak, you'll speak. And if you're not supposed to, and you're supposed to make coffee, you'll make coffee. Both are equally valuable. But whatever I decide that I want for me eliminates the possibility for God's vision for me, because I'm telling God what it is I'm supposed to be, if that makes a lick of sense. And don't think I haven't and don't, but I didn't ever get happy from it.
No, there's a fine line between ego, quit playing God, it didn't work. Yeah, no, thank you. It all made sense. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy, and thank you, Christina. We have one more hand up. I think we'll wrap it up after that. James, come on up, please.
Oh, there we go. Hi, everyone. I'm an alcoholic. My name is James, and like everyone else here, glad I didn't miss this. The only person in the foursome that I haven't heard before is Adam. And I got to say, my listening and comprehension skills aren't quite up to speed to the words coming out of your mouth. It was a lot of stuff to take in. My question, and hopefully it comes out in a way that I'm hoping it will, when we're sponsoring, or when you're sponsoring somebody, obviously we like to take them through the big book. We'd like to take them through the steps. And obviously the directions for the steps are in the big book. But in terms of taking them through the big book and the steps, do you normally do that as sort of two separate things? Or do you take them through reading each page of the big book and do each step as it comes up? Or do you have a mix of that? And that would be my question. Thank you.
This is directed to me, Adam, or to all of us?
Anybody that's moved, please.
Okay, my sponsor took me through the book page and paragraph, line by line, turning statements into questions. I have done that quite often I'll do a workshop at the house once a week. Sometimes I'll do it individually. When somebody's just driven by resentment, I will take them through much faster because I think that I'm trying to meet these people where they are. Some people, it's a slower process. The idea is always teaching them or helping them to be able to do it with other people. And Bill said the sole purpose of the AA group is the teaching and practice of the 12 steps. Also in 1942, and a lot of people know this, he says our chief responsibility to newcomer is an adequate presentation of the program recovery. I'm trying to always keep my purpose at that. Someone had said, this is kind of comical, but you'll become good at the doctor's opinion because you'll read the doctor's opinion to them. By the time they get to Bill's story, they'll have a career. By the time they get to there is a solution, they'll be in love. By the time they get to more about alcoholism, they won't need AA. So you'll be doing the doctor's opinion with a lot of people. The doctor's opinion has a big piece of this is there. And it's been such a pleasure working with new people, taking them through the book and showing them how to help others. And I think it's been very fulfilling doing that. But I get them into inventory very quickly if they're driven by resentment. I will show them how to write inventory and be rid of it very quickly. It depends on the person, but a lot of these guys are, I mean, I started talking in detoxes, and someone was saying how we do this so enthusiastically. I've been practicing in psych wards and detoxes for 23 years, talking to new people. That's how we develop this talk. And there's nothing special about me. Like my sponsor said, big mouth, good memory. But it's been working with new people has been the most exciting part of this, over and over and over again. If you ever wonder where they keep the newcomers, it's in meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. James, that's a perfect question to wrap us up, actually, so fitting with the theme. If I can ask everyone else that's left to please weigh in on how you do that these days.
Chris, alcoholic. What I'd like to do is touch on a couple of the questions. One of the ones that I want to speak on is every once in a while you're going to find biblical references. There's some in the big book. We use some of them, and what I think needs to be understood is that Dr. Bob and Bill Wilson had religious conversion experiences. That's what they had. The genius, though, of the architecture of the book Alcoholics Anonymous is it separated it out from a religious conversion experience to a spiritual conversion experience. And I think it's important to understand, where we came from and kind of let go of any of those prejudices if we have them. Some of the earlier questions too, what popped up into my mind is tradition one. It's something I always have to be holding on to. Our common welfare has to come first. And there's been times in my early recovery where I wasn't really operating from that platform. And I've come to really value the importance of that tradition and what it means. As far as sponsees, how I take sponsees through the steps, I'm at a point in time now in my life where I kind of intuitively know, how to move them forward, what type of speed to do it at, how often to meet with them. And there's no real cookie cutter way that I do it anymore. I think each person is unique, and sometimes I intuitively know how to how to handle sponsees that used to baffle me, and so I can't say that there's any specific way, but it is my job to, if someone is willing to move through those steps with them, according to their level of willingness. I've got to be there for that if the person is desirous of having a recovery experience. And I had a great time here today. That's all from me.
Chris? Steve or Cindy? Steve, you're muted.
There's probably no area that and I think most of the people that I know that even been around a long time question themselves sometimes is the effectiveness in sponsorship and hoping to do right by the person. And what I discover is, I used to be driving to meet a guy at Adam threw me off with that Denny's. I'm hoping I can aim higher than Denny's, but we're going over there. I'm like meeting him at McDonald's and I'm thinking, Jesus, I got to say something life-changing to this guy over this Egg McMuffin, And I really don't carry that weight the way that I used to. I like Chris just said, I try to just show up, and in working with others, it says our only aim is to be helpful. So how can I be helpful to this guy? And that looks different on different people. I will tell you in all candor, that I do not sit down and read page by page, word by word with an individual through the book. My life is not set up in a way that allows me to do that. But I do have that conversation with somebody up front and talk about what my availability is and let them know if you feel like if you want more than that, you deserve more than that. And there are people who are set up to be able to provide that. Now, I will tell you the other thing. I know that Chris and Adam and Cindy have had this experience. Because we get on here and chat a little bit, and a couple of people have said to each of us, I'm sure, something about being a good communicator. That's different than being a good AA member, right? And so I've sat across from somebody who's heard me speak at a podium somewhere, and 5 minutes into our conversation, I see their eyes glaze over thinking, man, I was hoping for more than this. I thought you had more going than this, man. And we don't bring anything special to the party, man. We just show up and be who we are, like Cindy said. And that's the most important thing I found in sponsorship for me and in working with somebody is just bring who I am to that relationship, like hopefully I can to every relationship, and see how I can be helpful. But I go through the book by assignment, if you will, and I ask some guys to read up to a certain point, and then we'll get together and talk about it. And I encourage them to get to those literature meetings where they're going to beat this thing up with some other folks in that environment and learn what's in that book. So thanks.
Thanks, Stephen. As for me, I think that the 11th step, I asked God for intuition for today. And then anytime that I meet with the sponsee, it's like, touch base with God. And just like Steve said, it's always a little different. I've done it all the ways. I have done it all of the ways. And, I don't do page by page individually much anymore, once in a great while, but I'm working the steps ahead of that. I'm not waiting to do the steps, as I said earlier. There's no way I'm doing that. But I do have a big book study at my house, non-COVID, and everybody's welcome. And so we do milk mice about all the words while we go through that study. And when I can, we read the big book when if I have a brand new girl, we're going through the steps, but we're also reading the book, but in a more high level way. I don't know if that makes any sense, but God will direct me every time. And the longer I'm sober, there used to be a lot of rights, a lot of wrongs. And I'm sober a long time now. And there aren't so many anymore. I've watched people get sober through all the paths that I said wouldn't work. They've worked the steps in ways that I said, you can't work them like that. And what do you know? They got sober. So God's in charge, not Cindy. And if I let God be in charge, it'll all be okay. That's all I got.